Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 119. This was definitely a catch-up episode where Ben has basically completely wussied out and is now wanting to do a cut phase in his cycle and in his routine, and not actually keep going in a bulking cycle like me. But I'm going still. I'm bulking. We talk about that. We get into it a little bit, but at the end of the day, we figure it out and we move forward. We also talk about one of the big topics around hair loss and how do you treat hair loss, both preventative as well as even hair restoration and regrowing your hair back. We get into hair transplants. We get into micro needling. We get into a lot of different topics here, talking about the science and the data behind hair growth and hair loss on hair regrowth. So tune in for this episode. It's an exciting one. And Ben is now on a cut, unfortunately, everybody. I apologize. I tried hard, but he finally tapped out.
So many food videos are coming my way. You know that there has had to have been some sacrifice, whether it's time or nutrition or whatever it is.
Recording myself talking about having a relationship with my chest.
I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Health Podcast. Yo, welcome back to Hacking Your Health Podcast, hosted by Ben and Dave. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. What's up? Doing good. Just getting ready for the holiday timeframes here. It's I know the podcast is a little bit ahead, but it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, so I got a turkey. I got a 25-pound turkey. Got the family coming over, and I'll be smoking some turkeys. And it's gonna sound like a bad word, but it's a normal cooking term. It's called spatchcocking, which is cutting the spine out of the turkey, and then from there, kind of letting it sit on a normal pace to where you can smoke it evenly throughout the whole turkey. So I've mastered that over the past few years. So I'll be cooking some turkey and got some other things as well. Some cheese boards I'll be cutting up, and Aaron does the stuffing, and got the desserts and all that good stuff. So it's gonna be
what about the pumpkin pie? Let's talk about the shit that people really want to know about.
Yes, pumpkin pie is definitely one of my favorites. And you
10% pumpkin pie, 90% cream.
It's the same. I got in this discussion on Twitter the other day too. It's the same thing for bagels. Like, when you have a bagel, you got to put probably like twice as much amount of cream cheese on that, so that it's literally cream cheese and just a little bit of bagel on it. So it's the same thing for whipped cream. It's all whipped cream and then just a little tiny bit
a side of pumpkin pie. Good. Glad to hear.
What about you, dude?
Well, I'm just going to get straight into it because I know you're going to give me shit for it.
Listen, let's wait before you start.
Nope.
We agree to some terms here, and then you're going back on the terms. Let's turn that out.
Nah, we've been back and forward a little bit, and actually I would love to play the voice note from you, because it was like you were mid sentence, and then I'd obviously text you, and you got distracted, and it was like, no, you're not doing it. Sure. But hear me out. Okay. So on the Hacks Call on Monday, every week I come in with some sort of topic or question just to sort of talk in a bit of a round table. And the question that I came with this week was like, what one thing are you putting off, and why are you putting it off? And Adam said he's been putting off doing a cut. He wants to cut another 10 to 15 pounds. So I was like, okay, right. Well, would it be beneficial to you if I did it with you? And that was fine. And then Travis said, I've been putting off looking after having focused goal in terms of health and fitness. I've been focused on business for so long and growing the business. I was like, I've been in that position. So why don't you join us? So Adam's in, Travis is in, and then I opted Ryan in because I knew he had that sort of similar mindset. So Adam, Travis, myself, and Ryan are going to do a cut from Monday.
Wait. Did you already decide on this without consulting your
this is me consulting you now. Now, the one thing that I will say, the one thing that I will say as a coach, one thing that you need to be able to do is willing to adapt to what the client needs and what their goals are. You don't want me to be resentful over the next couple of weeks, me going through and forward with your goals. You would rather I was doing what my goals were.
You could have had like some random stranger on the street say, man, I really wish I could lose a couple pounds over the holidays. You're like, you know what? I'm going to join you in a cut. It would have taken much. You have been itching for a cut.
I was like 2 pounds. You're exactly right. I was sitting. No, I didn't. I was sitting around this morning, and we recorded so the plan is, right, I'm gonna, from Monday, start recording a daily vlog of the whole process. So there'll be 93 episodes from Monday until the day we're in Phoenix. So I'm gonna record them, vlog the whole thing. Travis is gonna do not the same, but like different bits throughout the week. Rand's gonna do the same, and I'm gonna do the same. But I'm gonna do a daily vlog, right? And I was talking around, and we recorded one today, basically as an introduction to the vlog. And I was saying that exact thing. I was like, you know what? Like me acting selfless is in, you know what, Adam, I'll do this. He was like, anybody could have said anything. And I was like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
So
like
yes,
anybody could have been like, hey, help me. I need some help on a cut. And I don't want you to join me because it'd be weird, but no, I'm going to join you anyway. So yeah. Yeah.
All right. Hear me out. You're still going to be in control of everything. I have a couple of ideas that I want to run by, and we may as well just talk about them here because I've recorded a video for it already that's going to be released to the internet on Friday, so before this podcast. I think it'll be cool to document the whole process because I'm going to have to document my birthday, 5 days in New York, Christmas, and all the other shit shows that come in between. So it's like, how am I going to navigate those things while in a cut? Because your thought was, but what about Christmas and what about this? I'm like, oh, that will be part of the process. The second thing is, with the training that we discussed, the way my training set up every other day, we're going to decide that I'm going to front load cardio as much as possible, because usually whenever you come into a cut, you start to add more cardio, more output as you come to the end of it, which I get, but also sucks because that's whenever you have the least energy and it's shit. So if we front load it as much as possible on this side, while I have more calories and while I have the energy, I think it'll save us from having to do that on the other end. So it's a bit of an experiment as well. So from Monday, which is the 27th, I have exactly 92 days, 13 weeks and 1 day to shed some pounds, let's say.
Okay. I mean, listen, it doesn't.
You're going to be like, okay, Monday, 1,500 calories. Go fuck yourself.
Here comes Ben in the Food Network channel, watching recipes of chefs. So, listen, obviously, it sounds like something you feel you need to do, and I'll support you on it. I think you could definitely push a little bit further. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, my longer term thought is, so if I cut up until Phoenix, and then obviously we have a goal of like August next year, I'm like, if I get lean enough, I can stay lean coming into that. And instead of like cutting into the summer, I can be lean and actually increase calories coming into the summer. So stay lean. So essentially from the start of March, stay lean and start to increase calories then, instead of what the original plan was go to March and then begin to decrease calories until we come into the summer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hear what you're saying. I am not asking for a cut at the moment. I'm actually enjoying the surplus of calories and being able to eat whatever I want to. But I will say, like, it's getting hard for me to gain weight. Like I'm really trying hard to gain weight, and it's actually a unique experience because this is the hardest I've ever pushed a bulk before, a surplus. And the weight gain's very slow. I wish it was much faster. Like when I was going into this, I was freaking out because I'm like, oh, I gained like 4 pounds. I'm going to be like 250 in like a month.
Yeah, and we did think that.
And now we're, I think we're what, 3 months into this, and I've gone from 218 at the leanest. I'm up to 240 right now.
It's still lean.
And it's still lean. It's still lean. And that's the thing. It's like, when everybody talks about, surpluses and deficits and bulking and cutting, it's just slow, gradual increases that you're trying to accomplish. And I'm actually like taking like a weight bulk gainer now at this point in time. Like it's like an 800 calorie shake. And it's got like 60 grams of protein and all this other stuff. But I mean, it's a good problem to have. But it'll be definitely good for when the holiday timeframes are over and I'm ready to start cutting this down and seeing how much muscle mass I've actually added into it. But checking photos today, I still got visible abs. Still staying relatively lean, feeling strong. I have a little bit of a tennis elbow for some reason that spurred up last week. Definitely too much tennis playing. I'm not happy that you put 6 days of tennis in my training program, but it's been a process. But I've been enjoying it, and I'll tell you, the strength increases, how I feel as far as energy, going down to the gym, and my ability and flexibility to essentially eat whatever I want to, has been really, really, really good. And I'm enjoying being bigger. If that makes sense. I like the bigger feel right now. And I know when I cut down, I'm gonna love being cut down for like a month, and then I'm like, I want to be bigger again, So it's like this constant internal struggle with myself here, but I'm enjoying it right now.
But the goal for us is going to be, you're going to cut until the start of the year and then do a shorter cut coming into Phoenix as well. So it'll be like, you're definitely much leaner than I am as it stands right now. So we could be in the same position come the end of February, and then we can go through that next process together as well and sort of like stay lean and start to push calories again, because my goal is to get to a point that I'm happy with the level that my body fat is at and be able to sort of maintain that consistently as I start to increase calories slowly. And I am also enjoying feeling bigger. My clothes sit a little differently. I definitely look like a bigger person. I'm also enjoying the strength gains in the gym. Like, I feel like things in the gym are just easy at the minute. But my goal with the cut is to maintain that as much as possible, and sort of at least maintain strength and maintain as much muscle mass as possible. So I think it'll be a good process for us to go through.
What did you think of my idea of the workout routine that I sent you?
I looked at it last night. No, this morning. I looked at it this morning. I was like, we need to speak about this in person. So I'm happy to talk about it now if you want.
I thought it was a good split to where it's like, I'm not extenuating. What I'm trying to figure out is, how do I get enough volume in throughout the week?
So no. Tell the story. What has happened was, you watched a video with Chris Bumstead, and he said that he made more progress when he trained less.
This is true.
Something that I have been saying for many years.
It has been many years, and it took Chris Bumstead for me to finally actually pay attention here. But Chris Bumstead.
So now you're trying to work out how you can get everything in less amount of days, and this is where we're at right now.
That's right. And I'm trying to figure out how to break up my training program and routine so that I can. And I'd be honest, I haven't watched the full JP one Trained by JP stuff yet. I got about halfway through that, and I got occupied with kids stuff. But I definitely want to go through that. But my thought was, the Monday, Wednesday is something I do enjoy doing with Orange Theory with my wife. So it's a nice little cardio event that I do with my wife, and it's really not strenuous from a muscle building perspective. And so I was like, well, why don't I just do arms on those days?
So let me just read out what to the listeners what Dave's suggestion for training less is, because he heard Chris Bumstead. So Monday.
I just want to preface, it's going to sound bad at first, but there's some rationality behind this.
Monday, Orange Theory and arms lift. So twice, 2 training sessions on Monday. Tuesday, chest, quads and calves, lighter weight volume bodybuilding. Wednesday, Orange Theory and arms, heavy shoulders. Thursday, back, hamstrings and glutes, lighter weight bodybuilding day. Friday, chest heavy, shoulders, BFR, triceps. Saturday, lower heavy, biceps, BFR. Sunday, rest. So essentially, you're still training the same amount of days. You're just doing slightly different stuff.
Yeah. That's basically what it comes down to. Yeah, but it's a little bit different.
But it's not training less.
But it is training less in the sense that, like, okay, so Monday is typically my push day, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of work, and I'm not doing that at all. I'm just doing arms, which I feel like is less intensive on the body. Okay. Tuesday I do a full body push, right? But without shoulders, because the problem I run into is, if I do a full body push, in order for me to hit shoulders enough, in order for me to hit chest enough, in order for me to hit quads enough, I'm in there for 2 hours. And I'm trying to get down to like an hour a day or an hour and a half at the most, except for Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays and Saturdays will be longer days, and I'm totally fine with that, right? So, heavy, push day on Friday, heavy pull day, on Saturday will be kind of or legs day, I guess, on Saturday, was kind of the thought pattern, but I would reduce the amount of time that I'm in the gym substantially per week. So it is less time, it is less volume, and I am doing less heavy, intensive workouts throughout the week, preparing only for 2. So that was my thought pattern. So while it might seem like it's the same, I think it's a little bit different. Maybe I take an arms day out. Okay, I'm happy to take an arms day out.
But if you take an arms day out, you're just going to add arms into one of the other days.
I'm absolutely going to, but if it is, I'm open for discussion.
Well, I think this could be a good experiment, us doing different things. So essentially, my training is going to be every other day, full body, 1 working set per muscle group. So yesterday I did heavy calves, heavy hamstrings, heavy quads, heavy hack squat, light Smith machine press, light dumbbell shoulder press, light triceps, light lat pull down, light seated row, and light biceps. So the heavy ones were 6 to 10, and the light ones were 15 to 25 reps. I will tell you this for sure. doing 15 to 25 reps on upper body is infinitely worse than doing 15 to 25 reps on lower body.
So 15 to 20 reps, okay?
Yeah.
Not sets.
No, one set.
So I don't understand that. And I, like I said, I haven't gone through the whole video yet, but it doesn't seem like that would be enough volume for that body part.
So the idea is that you're just trying to create the stimulus, and the goal is that no matter what, you need to get more weight or more reps. It's a longer. So the idea is that I'll do the program
more intensity
for 6 months. Yeah. So it's focused on the intensity versus the overall volume. So the goal is to get fucking strong. So it's like day one will be heavy upper body, light lower body. Day two will be light lower light. Sorry. Day one will be, every time I go to say this, I cannot get it right. Day one will be heavy upper body, light lower body. Day two will be heavy lower body, light upper body. And then you just run those in a rotation. So
you're doing one set per muscle group.
One set per muscle group. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, so, you know, you look at like Sam Sulek, for example, and I'm not trying to use him as a guy. He's a crazy guy, but his whole concept is, you know, from the very first set of minus 4 rep sets, you're going to failure, right? You're pushing your muscle group to failure, and then from there it's just failure every single time. So, you know, whatever that means, if that's more weight or more intensity, you're pushing your muscles to the max. And if you look at the studies with, you know, Dr. Elaine Norton talking about the latest research around what actually stimulates muscle hypertrophy and growth, including strength, it is getting too close to failure, right? And you know, my only concern with one set, albeit, you know, higher reps at a higher intensity, is are you getting enough in there to create that muscle failure component? And I trust the JP dude. He's extremely intelligent and smart, and he's a big boy. And so, you know, it definitely leads me a little bit of skepticism because I'm used to doing much more sets, you know, to get to that. But I'd be curious to see the results of it.
Well, we're about to find out, aren't we?
Well, am I doing this too?
No, me, I'm doing it.
Oh, you're doing it.
Yeah, I don't think it would work for you, because I know that you want to train more. I know that you want to do more days, and I know that every other day won't work. So you have to train every other day. So it's not like you do this on a Monday, you do this on a Tuesday. It's like every other day, which obviously changes every week. So this week I'll train Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday.
So there's variable to yeah.
So it's a little bit harder to navigate like routine around it, but I've just looked at my calendar and just looked at a 2-week rotation of training, and I just have it in every other day.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm curious to see the results, and you know, you got my as your personal trainer, and you know, you have my approval, I guess, to go on this cut reluctantly. But I mean, listen, that's cool. You're gonna be doing it with a bunch of friends to get it, you know, to get everybody motivated and kind of push through it, especially during some of the most challenging times, which is going to be the holiday timeframes. Right?
Exactly. Do it on hard mode to show people that it's like proving a point.
And by the way, I will say, you know, was it 2 years ago? I was in a cut during the holidays, and it worked very well. We did the whole banking calories, you know, at the beginning of the week, so that I could have lesser calories throughout the week, and then I could have, you know, my big dinners at the turkey time frames. And you know, it's so crazy thinking about like I was thinking about this morning, and I know we got to talk about you know, hair loss and things like that, but
an actual topic is just not what me and you are up to in terms of training.
I was thinking about this morning, like it's almost, and I don't want to minimize this, but it's almost easy now where I'm at position wise, based on, you know, the amount of muscle mass I've been able to build, the routine and knowledge that I have, you know, working with you, plus the sanity checks, you know, obviously being in this program, to do what I want to do. And I was just thinking this morning, I'm like, I'm not worried about eating a bagel or having a snack or going out and doing this. And I'm strong. I'm happy with my physique. I went to Orange Theory today, and the lady at the desk, it was a different Orange Theory I don't normally go to. And I never met this lady before. She was a brand new front desk lady. And she looks at me and she's like, "Hey, do you want me to put you on the gym floor next to the heavy weights?" I was like, yes, actually, yes, I do. You know, but it's the, you know, it's the confidence in myself, but it's almost like this is my natural way of living now, right? This is what I do every single day. And, you know, right now I'm struggling to gain weight, whereas I would look at a cookie and I would gain weight. But the truth is, I mean, it wasn't really looking at a cookie. It was grazing all the time. It was being sedentary, not moving around. It was not being active. It was not getting enough sleep. It was the alcohol. It was, all of these stressors and variables on my body that, I wasn't paying attention to. And once I got control of those, everything else just became the easiest thing to essentially do. My health is now the easiest thing that there is to actually control. It's the other things now that become, harder. Trying to gain mass, trying to get stronger. Not the losing of weight. The losing of weight is trivial. I just cut back a little bit on food, and right now I'm sick of food at this point in time, so I'd be okay doing that. But it's one of those things that I really feel like, once you get through these initial, like everybody wants to, when they first come aboard, drop 20 pounds or whatever it ends up being, right? I wish people could be like, hey, I want to add 40 pounds, first, and then I'll lose the weight, right? Because you're going to be in so much better shape from a muscle mass perspective, because your body's going to be in that surplus to where when you shred that weight down, you're not going to be that skinny fat look. You're going to actually see the desired results. And like I was, taking the check-in photos today, and I was like, and I'm 20 pounds heavier than when we started this. And I'm like, damn, I'm a fucking big boy, and I love it. Like, this is great. I feel great. I still wear tight clothes.
We're not going to be saying Helmy's a big boy. It's like Dave's a big boy.
Well, Helmy's still a much bigger boy than me. I don't think I'll ever catch up to Helmy. But I like being a big boy, and I like the confidence that does. And Erin comments all the time. She's just like, man, it's like she touched my butt the other day, and she's like, holy shit, that's hard as hell. I'm like, are you flexing? I'm like, no. I'm like, why don't I flex now? And she's like, oh my God, yeah.
I'm just standing here.
Yeah, I'm just standing here. This is what my normal butt feels like here. So, but it's those types of things, obviously, that are the rewards for it and the hard work you put into it. But it does get easier when you do this consistently. It's not always I'm starving all the time. It's not man, all I can think about is food. This changes. So the folks that are listening to this that are just going through the beginning stages of this, it gets so much easier down the road, especially as you start to add more muscle mass. Your body naturally has to burn more calories. It's just how thermodynamics work in your body. It has to maintain more calories. If you're a 300-pound person, you burn more calories than a 200-pound person. Same thing for muscle mass. If you're a 240-pound person, you have a lot of muscle, you're gonna burn more muscle than a 200-pound person. So I eat more and I weigh more, but my physique is substantially different.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is, like, it's two things. Number one, it's like the compounding effect. Like, we're now 3 years into this, so it's like you understand what your body needs, you understand how to make the adjustments. The second thing is, I've started to actually look a little bit more, and I have a couple of clients that are like relatively early on, and I'm like, I'm not going to focus so much on fat loss initially, because like you said, you're just going to do fat loss, and then you're going to be like, you're going to feel like you don't have the physique that you feel like you should. Whereas if we'll do some sort of body recomposition depending on where you're at, but if we focus on getting stronger and building muscle for 9 months, and then we do 3 months of a fat loss phase at the end, you're going to be in a much better position. Like, your physique's going to be much better at the end of that than doing 3 or 4 months of hard stuff in terms of the cut first, and then trying to build the muscle on the other side. So sort of doing it a little bit backwards, I think, is an interesting approach with a couple of people that I'm taking at the minute.
Yeah, and that's a lot of trust you're putting into somebody, right? I mean, because you're used to being overweight, and you're not going to see the desired results as quick if you're going this route, because you're going to be carrying essentially a lot more muscle mass, muscle and fat as a byproduct of all this. And you're going to start to look down and say, okay, well, what am I seeing from a body comp perspective? And it's interesting because my check-in photos now, if you look at when I was shredded 20 pounds ago, I look much more I would say muscular there than I do now, because I've added body fat. Can't see the definition in muscle, but I know when I cut this back, I'm going to look twice or 10 pounds at least of muscle that I've added over the past several months, right? Your body can anticipate, on a good note, 2 pounds of muscle mass per month, and I've been bulking for 3 months, so surplus for 3 months. So I'm, I can expect to see about 6 to 8 pounds of muscle, addition here. It's a slow process, but that's what we do every year, right? It's just build, hopefully next year I can build, 10 to 12 more pounds in muscle mass. And then I shred down that again. And then the next year, 10 to 12 more pounds of muscle mass, shred down again. So it's just this slowly building over time, to get the desired results. And, I recognize I'm 41 years old. The testosterone replacement therapy TRT has been amazing, and I know that I can still continue to build muscle mass as I get older, since I can keep my testosterone levels, in check as I age. Reasonably amount. I usually stay within the 800 to 1,000 range. Just got my blood work done today, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not cycling large copious amounts of 2,000. Really try to stay within normal baselines on the healthy side, and from there we'll keep building. Right, it's just that building process. But again, it gets easier and easier and easier as you go, as you get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, agree. And actually, to go right back to the biomechanics stuff, the more muscle mass you have, the more, I guess the best way to put it is, the better equipped your body is to build more muscle. So the angles that your body now has to go through, because the muscles are essentially in the way. So the more muscle mass that you have, the better equipped your body is to build more muscle. So you go, fun fact from Helmy. Let's call it right now. So I'm 232 pounds at the minute, which is the heaviest that I've ever been. So we'll give it that.
Yeah.
What we saying for end of the cut, when we're going to be? What would you like to see?
Like 231 to 231.5 is about the
cut. Finished.
I need to lose a half a pound over the next several months.
You just take my socks off. Done.
Or just take a pre-workout you'd be using the bathroom.
Yeah.
You need to get rid of. Now listen, what I guess I would say, what's your goals of so you said you want to be Phoenix, which is what, in March?
27th of February.
Okay, that's close. March, same thing.
I know. I get it exact. It was 14 weeks exactly yesterday.
So we have a good solid 3 months.
Yeah,
3 months.
It's actually 3 months. Not to give so many different time frames, but it's 3 months exactly from Monday, because it's 27th of November to 27th of February. So 3 months exactly.
Got it. Well, I mean, I would say you want to lose maybe a pound a week, maybe 2 pounds a max. Because if that's 4 pounds, so that's 2, 4, 6, that's 8 pounds a month. And in 3 months, I mean, I would say you probably want to drop 20 pounds max. If that.
I had in my head 210 is what I had in my head where I would like to be, which is 21, which is 21 pounds.
So you want to be on an average of 1 to 2 pounds a week.
Yep. Easy. This is a super part. I was saying to Adam, and I was like, "You got to remember, this is my
cut. This is your jam. Like, you are the master at cutting and deficits, and I know it's going to start getting crazy towards the end when you're watching the Food Channel every single day and doing cardio.
I think it'd be beneficial for everybody when we release the sort of documentation from everybody, because obviously I'll do it the way that I do it. Adam, his approach is going to be slightly different. I'm obviously still going to manage it, but even straight away, he's like, I'm going to go higher volume, more frequency whenever it comes to training. My meals are going to be boring, like they're going to be proper bodybuilder style bro meals, and you'll understand why I hate cutting. Brian's approaching it from a completely different angle, and he has his own goals in terms of what he wants to achieve. So it'll be cool to sort of see how he does things and how he manages things with family and stuff like that. And then Travis is going to come from a completely different side, because his style of training and the way he does things, again, is completely different. So it's going to be fun to see how everybody sort of gets the results at the end of it. We've sort of made it into a competition, but I don't know what how you win. I don't know how to win. It's a competition, but I don't know what the goal is in terms of how I'm meant to win it. So it'll be interesting to sort of see what it looks like come the time as well. I also have agreed to run a 5K, which means fuck me.
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know how I'm going to do that one, but it'll be worse than losing 20 pounds. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good luck, man. I'm not going to be in the same boat. I'm going to send you copious amounts of turkey and stuffing
absolutely
and
fine.
Pumpkin pie.
It doesn't
I know it doesn't.
No problem whatsoever.
It's so funny you mentioned that. It's literally, okay, hey, you're on a cut, let's go, and then that's it. You just switch over to that mode, and you're back to I was telling that story a couple months ago where you were like, hey, it's time for a cut, and Aaron's like, hey, let's go out to Dairy Queen. I'm like, nope, started the cut already. Sorry.
She'd asked me yesterday.
Yeah, she asked me yesterday. I was fine. Yeah, I could have 3 ice creams. Today can't have one. So and that's funny because I got hit by not hit by somebody, but somebody said on Twitter is I made the comment about the bagel and the cream cheese, and someone said, would you fall off the wagon? I'm like, what wagon? I can eat whatever I want to whenever I want to, but I'm not going to eat 12 pieces of pizza. I'm not going to have 8 bagels and sit down and take a nap for the rest of the day. It's a difference of balancing your meals and what you focus on from a calorie perspective, a macros perspective, than it is anything else. So people just got to get through their head. It's not a diet. It's not a wagon. You're on this wagon for the rest of your life. There's no falling off.
It's the way that I describe it is living with 1 foot off the wagon. So it's like, your 1 foot off is the pizza you have, or the wheat thins, or the Doritos, or the donuts, or the ice cream, or whatever the thing is that you can have consistently and manage it within your calories. So yeah, that's the goal. I'll continue to eat all the good stuff. Like, I don't know how many calories you're going to give me, but I'm sure I'll manage it.
Well, I'll definitely be going over that and going through the data and check in. Well, you're at 700, 3,800 right now?
3,800, yeah.
Yeah, 3,800 right now.
So just go straight to 1,800.
I think, well, so you obviously can balance this very well. I can balance this really well. I would say, based on your weight fluctuations and from what we didn't do check-in last week because we're both busy, but I would say probably going down to 3,000 is going to be simple. And then from there, we'll start cutting it back down. You probably would be more aggressive. But I think 3,000.
I mean, that's 800 calories.
800 calories.
It's a big gap. Like,
that's a big deal.
Yes, from looking at both sides, it's still 3,000 calories, but also it's 800 calories less. And like, I'm at the stage now where I'm not struggling to eat 3,800 calories. Like, I can eat it no problem. Do you know what I mean? I've just find my flow with the food. I understand how to get it in here and there. So,
well, and you have to remember that there's 3,500 calories roughly in a pound, right? So we're dropping 800 times 7 is 5,600 calories. So you should be right around that pound and a half, metric. First week it doesn't usually happen the first week. Your body's like adjusting. And then from there, it just starts to hit after that. Usually
my goal is, and I'll tell this to everybody, my goal is I'm going to spend the next 4 days. What is it? Was it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Getting as heavy as I possibly can. So when I do my weigh in and Monday morning, I'm like, okay, I hit 235 pounds. Let's see what happens after this next 3 months.
Well, what's interesting too on the calories front that we've discussed before in the past, but we haven't talked about this in the other direction, which is when you're doing a deficit, right? There'll be times where you would say, "Hey, I need you to eat. Let's just say I'm at 2,500 calories. I need you to eat 3,000 calories for the next like 2 or 3 days, right?" And it's getting your body used to eating more calories, the increased digestion, and also kind of shocking your body into more calories, and then from there again dropping back down to 2,500. And that, because if you hit like a plateau where you're not losing any weight or you're not staying consistent, that can be a mechanism. You can also do the same thing other way in a bulk. If I'm not gaining enough weight, I can drop my calories down for a few days to, like, let's just say 2,500, and then from there shoot back up again to kind of get past that barrier. I've seen that be very effective. So there are ways of playing with calories and tricking your body. And it's funny because you talk about weight training. It's all about hitting your muscles in a different way. So if you're doing a certain muscle exercise and you're not seeing the benefits, or you're not able to burn it out, or it's not feeling right, you switch to a different one because your muscles get tricky. And I saw Arnold talking about this the other day, and he's like, your muscles, they know. He's like, when you get up in the morning, it knows that you're taking the pre-workout, and it knows you're going to beat the shit out of it. And it knows that if you do tricep extensions, it's going to fight you to grow. So you do something different to mess it up even harder. And then you do the tricep extensions because it has no idea what's going on. It's got a mind. So it was interesting. Arnold basically talking about your muscles being this like super highly intelligent, part of your body that, he's like, you gotta mess with it a ton to trick it into growing more. So I thought that was kind of funny, but it's true. I mean, like, you're attacking muscles in a different way. Switching to like German volume training, for example, and just doing massive amounts of volume to trick the body into, having to grow bigger from a hypertrophy perspective. There's a lot of different things you can do, splits, things that become difficult. But, what I would say is, if you're not seeing the gains that you want to, mix your workup out, for a couple of weeks, do something a little bit different. And that will help kind of stimulate the muscles and to move in a different direction.
I saw a video of Rich Piana, and he was like, wouldn't recommend listening to him in any way. Wouldn't listen. Right? Do not listen to him in any way, shape, or form. But he was like, get a set of 15-pound dumbbells and just keep them by your bed. And every night before you go to bed, do a set of 100 skull crushers and 60 bicep curls, just flat out. I was like, 5 pounds. I was like, I might do that. And he says, no food, don't worry about it, just go straight to bed. I was like, can you imagine going to bed after just doing all of those reps? I want to give one last shout out, because I had I had a huge issue this morning. My Oura Ring has not been working. Anytime I put it in the charger, it's on 1%. And I mean, that's fucking useless, because actually, to totally take it back, I've started trying out a sleep supplement, and I've been sleeping really good, but I have no data to back it up or how I actually feel. So I got on to customer service at Aura, and literally within an hour of me sending them a message, I had a new one shipped out. So it'll be here on Monday, and we'll get back to data. So I just wanted to shout them out, because that was excellent customer service.
You see, there's a big lawsuit between Aura and Ultra right now.
I did see that. I also saw that Aura have tried to poach the CEO of Apple Health to come on board with him, which I think would be a cool move as well.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I actually just talked to, I think it's Mahit is the CEO over at Ultra Human, and not about that specific stuff, but the biggest issue I've had with Ultra Human is the real-time tracking of workout routines. And they sent me a beta this morning, and it is better. It's still not great. But I do enjoy the data flow from Ultra Human plus paired with the CGMs. Aura does a great job as well. I mean, it's whatever. There's a new one coming out. I think it's called like all in one or one all or something like that. I can't remember the exact one, but it has the first blood pressure monitoring system. So real-time blood pressuring. It's supposed to be, I think, out by February. I know Samsung is also looking at, I think, doing the same thing. So there's going to be blood pressure, real-time blood pressure monitoring, which I think is very valuable. Very, very, very valuable statistic to be able to go through too. So we'll see how that pans out. But I am wearing my Whoop on one hand, and I'm wearing my Ultra Human on the other. So
I'm not wearing anything. I literally have zero devices on, no devices on whatsoever.
Yeah, I go back and forth. But all right, well, so for today's podcast, we had a lot to catch up on, obviously, but I did want to talk about a great conversation around hair loss, which I think is something that a lot of folks struggle with, and even if you don't, the potential for thinning, losing your hair over time as you get older. There's a lot of great data out there on preventative mechanisms that I wish I knew, because I started balding very heavily when I was in my early 20s, all the way up to what you can do as you age to really prevent as well as regrow hair. And there's a lot of great studies on this. It's not like taboo, but I will be fully transparent and honest. A few years ago, I was completely bald on top. I had no hair whatsoever on the top. I had like a little patch like around here, but everything else was completely bald. And I'll be happy to share pictures of it. But I was fully bald on top. And for me, some folks look really good bald. I have a wide head, like an egg-shaped head. So I definitely don't fit the bill for having a very good looking bald head. And so I went through a hair transplant where there's a few different ones out there, and the hair transplants have gotten so much better over the past years. People think like the plugs, so that's not how it is today. It's pretty incredible what they can actually do, but they are expensive. They usually average around $9,000 to $10,000. But what they do is they basically there's a few different options. If you don't have excessive hair loss on the top, they have what's called I think it's called the FUE, which is where they have like little systems. I think the RTAS is the main one, but it basically has a little tiny needle, and it goes in and it plucks hair from the back, throughout your whole hair like this. And then it inserts the hair follicle onto the top of your head. And so it will give you like a kind of like a low fade, type of look, because, it's plucking, anywhere between, 9,000, 10,000 grafts from your hair, to really take the hair follicle out. And when the hair follicle is removed and it's implanted on the top of your head, it will regrow on those areas. And I was talking to my doctor that did my procedure, and what he was saying was, he showed me one of the hair follicles that he pulled out of my hair. And he's like, see that the hair follicle here? He's like, that's the cure for male pattern baldness. Why is this hair that's on the side of your head not dying off like the rest of your hair is on the top of it? There's some sort of genetic coding in here that makes it more resistant to like DHT and your hormones that causes it not to lose its follicle status and die off. It's like, this will be the cure down the road for it, but we just don't know yet enough to be able to prevent it. What we do know is that if we can increase blood flow to the top of the head, and we can also reduce the hormone levels, specifically around DHT, these are the things that will stop, baldness with that. And DHT, is a byproduct of testosterone and things like that. So, it's one of those things. It's dihydrotestosterone, and it's basically the main reason why we see male pattern baldness, because of the high DHT levels that are basically there. And it's also for women as well. It's an androgen that gives male characteristics, and it basically minimizes the hair follicles and eventually causes them to die off, which is why you lose your hair. So people with high DHT conversion ratios, they typically have more hair loss. Now, so I talked about the FUT, the FUE, which is the other procedure. This is the one that I got done. I'm sorry, the FUE is the one that's the robot that grabs it from here. The FUT though is the one that I got, which is the follicle unit transplantation, which is what's also known as like the strip method. And what they do is they basically, and this is going to sound horrible, and the sound of it is the worst. So they numb your head. They take scissors, and all you hear is as they're cutting the back of your scalp with scissors. And they take a little strip from the back of your head. So if you look at, if I shave my head really low, you can see a scar line there for when they took the hair strip. But they basically have like 5 nurses that are sitting there dissecting into like 1, 2, 3, and 4 type hair follicle bunches, and they basically manually plant over the span of about 8 hours, these hair follicles into the top of your head. And that one is used more so for people that have much more severe male pattern baldness. So I was obviously very bald on top, so they needed more. Follicles to be able to put into there. So they basically had to cut a big strip off of there. And so if you look at the top of my head, I have a pretty decent amount of coverage here. Again, I was completely bald, but over here, the actual balding area here, you can still see noticeable, baldness there. And so that's hair transplants is one method. But what I'd recommend for people that are concerned about losing hair or want to prevent more hair loss in the future, the 2 main methods, like these are the 2 most common methods for stopping and even potentially regrowing today without hair transplants, is using like Rogaine, which is going to be, minoxidil, right? Minoxidil being a method that helps increase blood flow in those areas there, as well as what's called finasteride or dutasteride, which is either a pill or you can have topical finasteride or dutasteride that reduces the amount of DHT levels, most specifically in your head. Okay. Now, finasteride gets a really bad rap, and I understand why. Some people have a reaction to it. It's a very small percentage. It's like sub 1% of people have issues with erections with finasteride. Again, very small percentage of individuals, but it is a possibility. Usually when you come off of it, those subside and go away. It's obviously something that you want to research first from a side effects perspective and take a look at it. Finasteride and dutasteride are very similar. They basically lower those levels. They're what's called a 5-alpha reductase inhibitors that treat the specific areas around DHT levels, and they're specific blockers that stops conversion of those. Very similar to like an anastrozole that would stop the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. And so I take I for the longest time I took pills. I think it was like 0.5 or 1 milligrams of finasteride a day. I switched about a year ago to topical finasteride and minoxidil. I've had a great amount of success with that. So these are 2 things that you put topically on your hair. They're prescription. Minoxidil is not prescription. You can get Rogaine at the store. Minoxidil is fantastic. The thing with minoxidil though is it's a lifelong thing. You don't want to stop using it. If you stop using it, you're going to start shedding all of those hairs that you would have lost very quickly. So you'll start to see shedding happening very quickly. You'll start to lose your hair. You're not losing your hair because of the minoxidil. You're losing it because you stopped using it, and that's the hair that you would have lost in the first place. So, using minoxidil, it needs to be a staple that you put into your hair essentially daily. Some people say twice daily. I just do it once. And then I use the finasteride topical as well for those. And I haven't had any more hair loss since I've had my hair transplant, which has been a great thing. 2 things on that though. When you get the hair transplant, you will lose all that hair that they plucked in. You're like, oh man, I got hair on the top. It all falls off and dies, but it all regrows then very shortly afterwards. And you have obviously, the hair that I have here. And then one last thing that I wanted to hit onto this, and we can get into some discussions on it though, is there's also, so I talked about finasteride, dutasteride. I talked about the FUT. And then there's also something that I'd heavily recommend taking a look at, which is called microneedling. And microneedling or derma rolling. And microneedling is kind of like I would say like the 3rd phase of something you can look at. And it could be used also for skin. So like I'm actually going to start using it for, if you see I have like a little red patch here where I had like some acne and it left a little bit of scar tissue. What it does is it has anywhere between like 12 needles to like 50 needles in it. It's this little tiny pen. And you basically put it over those areas and you rub it on those areas. And it's a small machine that basically is like almost like a tattoo machine, but it's only going, so on your skin, you only need to go about 0.5 millimeters deep. On the for hair, you want to get to about 1 to 1.5 millimeters deep. Anything past that will damage hair follicles, but anything below that will actually start to stimulate substantial amount of blood flow to those areas. And the results that have been coming out with a lot of the data studies have shown not only the ability to maintain and keep hair, but also the ability to regrow hair as well. So you'll actually start to see the regrowth of hair occurring much faster. Now, if you're taking minoxidil and finasteride, you don't want to do those the same day that you're doing the microneedling, because you want those scars to be able to, not scars, but the wounds essentially, because you're putting little pins into your hair in your head. You want them to heal. So about 24 hours later, you can then put the minoxidil and finasteride. And what they did is they measured blood levels of people that took just topical minoxidil and finasteride, as well as those that did microneedling. And the amount of medicine that was in the system was substantially greater absorbed with the ones that were doing microneedling, and also showed substantial amount of hair growth than those that did not. So, it definitely can be something that long-term you could use. And, generally people will either do it like once every 10 days or once a week. So my plan is, on Sundays, I will do microneedling. I haven't started yet. I have the microneedling here. I just haven't started because it's not Sunday, but I'm doing a lot of research on this. And so obviously report back my results, but I'll be starting on Sunday doing microneedling. Then Monday, I'll do Sunday morning. And Monday, I will put on my finasteride and minoxidil. And from there, I'll keep that going for the rest of the week. And then again, Sunday, apply the same thing. And I'm going to do some before and after pictures to kind of show, over the past, over the next several months, kind of the results. But, I've done a lot of before and after pieces of research on it. And it's pretty substantial. I mean, it's, you could definitely still tell that there's thinning there. But for somebody that was like completely bald in the crown, having hair there and having it actually covered is pretty substantial. So, if you want to prevent hair loss right now, minoxidil, finasteride, or dutasteride are the two, main methods there for that, as well as, the ability to do microneedling. If you're looking at the, hair transplantation, transplant stuff, there's plenty of companies out there that would do it. Make sure you find a good one and a good doctor that knows what they're doing. I went here to Dr. Haber, is who I went to here in Cleveland. He was phenomenal. The procedure was like 8 hours, though. You're literally in a chair for 8 hours. You get a break to go get eat food, but you're like watching Netflix, and while people are literally like poking holes in your hair, in your head the entire day. It doesn't hurt, it's just kind of an uncomfortable.
How long ago did you get it?
So I would have gotten this 2016 is when I got the hair transplant. And I, when I had my stomach surgery done, I had a lot of hair loss again after that, most specifically probably because of iron deficiencies. And so, I mean, I went from pretty bald to non-existent bald. I didn't have any hair on top. I mean, you couldn't even take a strand off of the top of that. Versus now, where obviously I can, I have a good set of hair on top of here that I was able to, regrow basically from the transplant site. So I had a lot of success. You can't tell I even had one. If I cut my hair, really, really, really low on the sides here, you can see that. You can fix that. There's essentially, there's a couple ways. Microneedling can fix that. But two, you can also get they're like little tattoos that basically spot, the area that you had your scar, and that masks the line that you had there. So if you want to go lower to a lower cut, like a lower fade in the back there, you can do that just by doing some of those little tattoos. I can't remember the name of what they're called. It's a medical term for it, but those work pretty well as well to get rid of the scar lines. But never had any issues since then. Hair regrew shortly afterwards, and then it's been going ever since. So one of the best, I guess, confidence boosters that I made, because I really hated how I looked. Bald was always something that was on my mind, and to be able to kind of address that was really neat.
Yeah, I always not laugh, but there's definitely a piece of me that, like, whenever you post before and after pictures, and there's someone who will mention your hair, and I'm like, not what we're talking about here right now. Like, not the fucking topic of conversation here right now.
I get it all the time. Like, hey, how did you regrow your hair? Well, I had a hair transplant. And me, I'm very, transparent of everything that I'm doing. My whole goal is to help people out and talk about them. I mean, not everybody can afford, a hair transplant. Not everybody can afford, going through those things. So I'm not, advocating to go spend 10 grand on something you can't afford. I was obviously in a different position then to be able to go do it, but it was definitely something that, I really enjoyed and made a big difference for me.
Yeah, I'm always like, my dad's completely bald, and he always gives me shit. He was like, "This is your future. Like, you're definitely going bald." And I'm like checking. I'm like, I do not feel like I'm going bald one bit, but I'm now like,
you have a plentiful amount of hair, my friend. You're good so far.
But so far, that's what I'm saying. It's like, do I need to start taking these things into consideration just in case? Like, is it worth my while? Because
I would recommend as a preventative, just using, getting either a prescription of, minoxidil and finasteride, or just do minoxidil. Minoxidil is a very good preventative behavior, and you can get it from any store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, foam that you put in your hair at the beginning of the morning, comb your hair, whatever you're doing, doesn't make a difference. It doesn't leave any sticky residue or oil or anything like that. It's just, but it definitely has a big impact on preventative, so you don't lose any hair, moving forward.
I mean, I do wear a hat 95% of the time. So
yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to hit on the last one of this is that there's also something called derma rollers, which are kind of like microneedling, but it's basically like a roller with spikes in it, for lack of a better term. I don't everything I've seen on that, I don't necessarily recommend that, just because that was kind of like the original way of doing it. Since then, they've gotten a lot better with the microneedling. The derma rollers don't necessarily go down deep enough, and you don't want it to go too deep. Again, the 1 to 1.5 seems to be the sweet spot for not damaging any hair follicles or causing scar tissue, which could then further, prevent you from doing it. But, my test areas that I've done doesn't seem to hurt at all. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not bad. And, you basically just want to go lightly in the areas that you want to recover and just lightly roll over them. And they say to do it for about 10 minutes or so in the affected areas total, 10 minutes total in the affected areas that you want to go. So, just kind of lightly going over. And they say, once you go over it, do like a dotting method. So you dot, 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 but not pressing hard, and just getting enough depth in there to create that heavy blood flow, which then has, stem cells, that has your recovery ability to regenerate those areas and get blood flow to new hair follicles. So, it's definitely something that, could be very beneficial for you. And a lot of studies show that it does work really well, as long as you're not going too deep.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and you said from a confidence perspective, like if it's something you can do to change, get on it right away.
That's right, absolutely.
Good.
Well, that was all the main pieces here. We covered a lot today on the surplus and deficit, but listen, I know folks are in a lot of different areas when it comes to like where they're at in their progress, and Ben and I are obviously, several years into this, and Ben, this is his whole area of expertise and
I'll be
what he focuses
10 years training at the start of February next year. I'll be 10 years.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome.
That'll be a good before and after.
That would be a good before and after for sure. And so these things get easier, as we go along, right? We're not saying that it's easy to do. It's to get into these habits and to kind of build your lifestyle away from this. It does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of, really focus on yourself and prioritization and time for yourself. But know that this is something that is attainable. And once you get through it, it's something you can definitely sustain for forever. I mean, I honestly don't see an issue with me being able to, as I get into my 50s and 60s, to, really start to even crank even harder at certain areas, right? It's just something that's kind of built into my DNA now, that is just a normal time. Every time I go to, go eat, I'm like, well, how do I focus on protein centric first, right? How do I do this? How do I do that? It's always based on those types of situations where I'm thinking, and it's just a matter of training your mind that way. It's hard at first, but after that, it gets, substantially easier, and you just kind of move on from there.
I think it whenever you say it becomes easier, I think the way I would describe it is whenever you've spent the time establishing the habits and the behaviors, at that point, it just becomes manipulating numbers and playing about with things. So at the start, it's hard because essentially you have to start putting all these things into your life. So it's like, I have to fit training in, I have to fit steps in, I have to fit cardio in, I have to track my food, I have to do it. Like, I literally have to rebuild everything that I do. And even though I'll go through that process gradually, and even though like we'll take it step by step, it's still a lot of change needs to happen. People around you need to get on board with it, your environment, like your work, like all these things need to change. And there's all these like, you essentially have all of your life's bad habits up until that point to change. And that is the hardest bit. I mean, if you start whenever you're 35, you have 35 years of bad habits to overcome. And whenever you start to really delve into it, and even like it can be great for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, and then the shit will hit the fan and you'll just revert back to that person that you used to be for whatever situation is going on. But the longer you stick with it, the more that you reinforce the habits and behaviors, and the more you reinforce the identity piece that you, like you said, it's in your DNA. You are that person now, not the person who trains because they want to get from A to B or lose 20 pounds or whatever. I think it's huge, and that's obviously what makes it a little bit easier. It doesn't mean that it gets easier in terms of the gym, because it gets harder. It doesn't mean that it gets easier in terms of like fat loss, because the more you have to lose, the easier it is. Whenever you start to really get into the parts where it's like, you've lost maybe 60, 70 pounds, it starts to get harder because your body will fight you a little bit more. There's actually less like percentage of your body to lose. But it's easier in the sense of it's part of your habits, it's part of your behaviors, it's part of your routine. And just on that note, I want to shout out both Glenn and both Thomas. And now, I know I'll always say weight's not the main focus, but it is a metric that people will follow. It is something that is, it is a huge success to overcome such an incredible weight loss. And it is a metric that I will always look at anyway. Both of them this week in their check-in are down 80 pounds. Now, I think Thomas maybe started the week before or after. They like started within a week. So they're from the same week. I think they were both on like week 47 or week 48. And both of them in this week in their check-in were down 80 pounds. And like, that a fucking phenomenal achievement.
That is absolutely insane. I mean, that is a huge accomplishment. Holy smokes. That's a lot, and that's amazing. And again, you're continuing to see the progress in the family and the BC chat and the group there and the hacks programs, and just continued success, obviously, with what you've been able to build and that trust with everybody. But incredible movement that we're doing here, and I'm happy to report the increased security mechanisms that I put in place has stopped the spam male genitalia posts that we got for that one day from one of those spammers there. I
had to laugh because I obviously added Lorena, who's the mobility coach. She's coming on. She's doing her first call tomorrow, which I think will be a huge asset to the team. But she's like, I've never used Discord. And I was like, fuck, right? How am I even going to how do I explain this? And how do I make it as not a shit show as possible? Then I forgot you put that fucking verification thing. And I was like, I don't even know. How do we even get past that? But she did manage to get in. She's obviously psyched to get on board and get involved with everything.
Yeah. The folks in the general chat are having a ton of fun with it because I upped. We have this bot called the Arnold, and I upped all of his rules to be super sensitive and literally warn and then eventually ban people. And
I saw somebody got warned. Jason got warned just today for talking in capital letters.
Yeah,
like a fucking prison.
Yeah. And the whole verification process has all been changed, and so I've made it much more effective for people, I think, to get there, which is good. So
good. That's what we want. And the goal is let's sort of grow the community. And I have a couple of plans. I actually have a meeting on Friday this week in terms of overall social media expansion and growth and how we can get more eyes and ears on pretty much everything that we're doing. So I'm looking forward to seeing the growth within that. Plus, I know we mentioned last week the secret stuff, and Rand's so raging. He texted me yesterday saying, "What's the second secret thing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Oh, I just listened to the podcast, and he said there's two secret things. I know what one is, but I don't know what the other is." I'm like, "I'm not fucking telling you." And he was like, "You're leaving me out." I was like, "I just want you to experience it with everybody else."
That's awesome. Love it, man.
So good.
Well, secret. It's gonna be a secret for a little while.
It will be a secret for a little while. Yeah.
It'll be awesome though. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in for this episode of Hacking Your Health. We'll be back at you again, same time, same place. As always, thank you all for listening. All of our listeners out there motivated. We appreciate you. Keep us going. So share us with your friends, family, and everybody else. And we'll chat with you next week. Later.
See you next week.